The topic today is about managing setbacks, challenges, demotivation, and of course, health issues. I'll be sharing some personal experiences with you to give you the direction of how I'm able to take these challenges and use them as stepping stones to another level, which really helps us at the end of the day. So sit back, relax, and let's go. I'm your host, Lola Ogujimi, creative director and founder of Dainty Affairs Bakery. So it's important to note that if you're going through anything at the moment, you are not abnormal. Everybody is going through something. Everybody. The question is, how best are you managing all of the issues that are springing up? I'm a big advocate of writing things down. Sometimes when we have all of these issues in our minds, they kind of get lost. But when you have a journal and you're able to articulate what you're thinking about, you can see it clearly, black and white. And of course, you can begin to think about, even if you don't know what to do, it's there, you can see it plainly. And it helps you to now begin to find solutions to help you, isn't it? We find out that as cake business owners, we kind of get lost in the grind of, oh, I know how to make beautiful cakes and I'm baking it, I'm decorating it. Before you know it, one or two people call. And when they call, you are not ready to pick up their calls. There's a lot of or people catch you unawares and you end up trying to please so much that you give them prices that are not in accordance with the kind of work or the value that you're going to put out. And the problem with this is a lot of bakers find themselves in a zone where for years and years of neglect, they haven't been able to answer those questions around their products, their pricing, and the services they render. And so what happens is they are constantly wearied out by the whole process of not having that proper answer in place for their customers. So what kind of solutions can you prefer to this type of challenge? It is simple. Before you get out there to begin to market to your customers, you need to first of all do your house cleaning. What are the products you're rendering? All right, what are the different levels of these products? Because they are different, their prices must be different, their descriptions must be different. So you want to make sure that you've itemized all the product offerings you have and put the correct price point on it. I find out that when you have the right answers to the questions your customers are asking you, it gives you a lot of confidence. Okay, and anybody calling you wants a confident baker, wants an assertive baker, wants a firm and friendly baker who is not confusing them. So the first problem was you're a bit disorganized because you haven't streamlined on your product offerings. What do you need to do? Step back, do the work. You know, I usually would advise cake business owners, have a proper portfolio that shows the offerings that you have, pictorial. Make sure that they're clear, they're crisp, and they're clean images. Make sure you have a description, a proper description for these products. Don't assume customers will know what it is. Be as descriptive as possible. And of course, put the correct price point. Okay? So you see, there's a problem. We begin to analyze, and then we prefer the solution. You can also have problems around staffing. For us at Dainty Affairs Bakery, one of our major challenges usually is about manpower. A lot of our operations staff, which are people like the bakers, the cake decorators, they come unschooled. And you know what it takes to train people from scratch. So first and foremost, we're not just teaching them how to bake and decorate properly. We're teaching them culture, we're teaching them character, we're teaching them attitudes. And having a structure in place, like I always advocate for, helps for your environment to be a lot more organized. You can't bring people around you and they don't know what to do and when to do and how to do it. You're setting them up for failure. So in the early days when I was hiring and I didn't know that there was a process of, putting standard of operations in place, I was always frustrated with managing the staff that I have. And so that was a challenge then. But then we began to analyze and I realized that having people around me was much more than telling them to bake and decorate. We needed to teach them how to think. We needed to create an enabling environment, a loving and a nurturing environment for them to thrive. And then we had a system that always made sure that we put them on check. All right. So in managing staff, you want to make sure that you are not doing what everybody else is doing. Your dynamics as a cake business owner is very important. When I say dynamics, are you single? Are you married? Do you have young children? Do you have older children? What's your staff strength like? What are your goals? Things like this are really your dynamics. And someone whose goal is to have a cake business all over the country, the kind of work that person will put in will be different from someone whose goal is just have something to fall back on. Someone who just wants to be a home baker and work in their own kitchen. You can see that that's a very huge divide, and you cannot make your decisions like the other baker. Well, I would normally say this to young cake business owners. I would tell them to just calm down, okay? Never get into the scene of social media, for example, and get frustrated by all the grandeur you're seeing. All right, you're gonna grow at your own pace. There are a lot of things I know now that I did not know when I was a much younger baker. And I honestly wish I did not stress myself a lot with all the things I was trying to, achieve at the time. When you start out in this cake business, you want to make sure that your foundation is solid. And to make your foundation solid, you want to make sure that you have the right training. Beyond training on the skill, you're training on how to run the business properly. You're training on how to manage people. You're training on how to manage your finances. You're training on how to scale your business. And you're training on how to actually manage people. I have said that before, but I always like to hammer on that. In the early days of my cake business career, one of my biggest issues was managing people. All right, I had to learn diplomacy, where I could, bring people into my environment and assume they knew what to do. And because they didn't do it the way I wanted to do it, there was a lot of frustration, there was a lot of bickering, there was a lot of demotivation. But I now later realized that there's a way of managing people. In a system where, you are running a much more bigger bakery, it's now about you hiring the right support. We're talking about your HR, your human resource. We're talking about your supervisor. Someone who is close to the ground and can actually manage and get the best of your operation staff. Another challenge cake business owners will normally have is about customer service. When you are the cake business owner who is still managing calls, managing inquiries, it could be very cumbersome, to be honest. I will say to you, there are levels to these things. First and foremost, you need to understand that someone else can pick up your calls. Yes, someone else can do that. Customers don't have to speak to you directly, but there is a very level ground about this. When we all start up as cake business owners, it's very important that we communicate with our customers. Why? Because we have proper product knowledge. Okay? Your customers are coming to you as cake eaters, and so they don't know the dynamics of cake. You, however, are coming in the direction of a knowledgeable person. So if a customer tells you they're having a beach party and they want a Swiss meringue buttercream cake, and you tell them, okay, that's fine, what size do you want? You've actually led the customer on, because a Swiss meringue buttercream cake sitting under the hot sun in a beach will melt. So because of your product knowledge, it's now important for you to tell the customer, the kind of cake that would do well in a beach environment would be a fondant cake, because the sun wouldn't melt that covering you have put on the cake. So what am I trying to say here is that yes, someone can actually pick up those calls for you, but whoever that is must be someone you have trained very well, that has proper product knowledge, that can convince the customer and can command respect, okay, and can also manage the customer on every step of the way. You don't want to have people who pick up your calls and cannot turn a conversation into a sale. So as a cake business owner, you are the person that will put down your different templates or trainings that would allow whoever you are hiring to take up your calls to be able to respond to any type of inquiry. You want to make sure that when you're actually hiring someone for this particular role, you've tested the person as far as smartness, common sense, articulateness, can they speak properly with the right tonation? Can they represent your brand as best as you can? Those are the kind of things you do or you look out for when you're doing your recruitment, so that you don't hire the wrong person for the role and think, oh, I'm always getting the wrong hands. No one can pick up my calls, because people can actually pick up your calls. I realized that when I took the role of, answering day-to-day calls from my job description, I had a huge relief. And I mean a huge relief. Because speaking to customers is very demanding. And those early days, I will be working on cake. So to speak to people and understand them, it meant that I needed to stop what I was doing. And stopping what I was doing meant that my work took longer. I finished longer, because the phone calls will come in. I will stop, take the calls, or I will put the phone on my ears and be, mixing or doing whatever decoration. And half of the time, my mind wasn't there. So when they had finished speaking, I had literally forgotten the conversation. I'm just saying, take any role you don't have to do off your workload. All right? So quickly now, I'm going to talk about how to manage customers' expectations and negative feedback. Managing customers' expectations for us as a cake business took a while to understand. Why? Because when you work as a bespoke cake maker, for us, we deal with a lot of customers who are well educated, well traveled, and their expectations are very high. And so when you deal with customers who have very high expectations, you want to make sure you are as descriptive as possible. You also want to make sure that you document as much as possible. When I say document, make sure that if the conversation was on a phone, you want to make sure you follow up with a chat where everything they have mentioned is listed. Once it's listed, nothing is in the air. School your customers based on what you allow and what you don't allow. All right? And then carry them along. When you carry your customers along on how the delivery will be done, when the delivery will be done, okay, it also helps them to make informed decisions. For us at Dainty Affairs, we do really early deliveries. Why? The traffic situation where we live in Nigeria is you can't even plan it. So having the delivery service, get to the customer on or before 8 a.m. in the morning, could be exciting, and some customers will just not like being woken up that early. So we give the customers a heads up. At the point of, taking on their orders, and they say, I want my cake by 10 a.m., the customer representative tells the client that, oh, our cakes are delivered on or before 12 noon. Why did we say that? So that expectation is minimal. In the early days, customers would say, I want my cake by 8. And the delivery is not yet there. We're panicking. Customer calls and is very irate. Is really upset and is, quite vocal and, very demanding. Those kind of things can be very demotivating and, makes you, second guess the kind of work you do. But telling the customers that, oh, we deliver on or before 12 o'clock, that way the customer's expectation, we've lifted that expectation up. But what we now tend to do is, because if we're able to get a much earlier delivery, like I mentioned earlier, a few days before the actual delivery, we will call the customer and say, hi, this is just to let you know we've been able to manage to confirm a much earlier delivery for you, and your cake will be getting to you as early as 7 a.m. Is there someone who we should call at that time if you will not be available? All right, what have we done there? Again, we have made expectations harmonious. Not that we just get there by 7 a.m. and we're calling the customer and the customer is not picking the call and the delivery service has to wait there until they wake up. Those kind of things are the things that cause stress. You want to make sure that there's a lot of communication, there's a lot of openness, there's also a lot of transparency. And where, things go out of hand and the customer is very upset about a service or the cake delivered or whatever, you want to make sure you handle that also properly. I'll give you an example. We have a product called the Ready-to-Go Buttercream Cake. This is one of our best-selling cakes. It's an affordable line that we make specifically for a brand. And because it's that affordable, we have a lot of people who, order these cakes. And we would, when we started, we only were making them in 8 and 10 inches. But, as things evolved, we adapted and decided to make a 6-inch size. But the picture on the website, okay, that people saw and booked was 8 inches. And so, of course, the 6 inches was smaller. So a lady had ordered the 6 inches. And, when she received it, I'm sure she liked the cake, but she called back and was quite upset. Feedback to us was, oh, the cake is so small. The picture on your website was deceiving. And yes, what she said was actually true. As a business, we had to apologize to her and say that, oh, we're sorry if you felt that way, but we just want you to know that that cake was made with a lot of love. But now that you have mentioned this, it's important to you, and we'll make sure we'll do something about it in our description. So what did we do as a business? We now had to put this phrase on the website. Image displayed is 8 inches. Okay, that sentence right there would allow any customer getting on the website to know that, oh, this cake that I'm seeing here, or this particular size is 8 inches. So they will decide whether they want to do that 8 inches or something bigger. What am I just trying to say? Never shy away from negative feedback. Negative feedbacks are there for you to actually know what your operation is like. It helps you to understand what customer is thinking about your business, and also helps you to make adjustments where necessary. Feedback for us at Dainty Affairs is like gold. We thrive on it. If it's a negative feedback, we want to make sure that we sort out what it was that made the customer unhappy. And if it actually means us redoing the cake altogether, we're happy to do that, I tell you. I cannot tell you how much that gesture alone has done for us as a cake business. And of course, if it is good feedback, you want to make sure that, yes, you appreciate the customer for the good feedback, and use that good feedback to advertise your business again, so that people can know that, oh, this is what people are saying about your business. And feedback is also very good for marketing. People usually want to know other people's opinion about a product or a service, and having your feedback, really highlighted as part of your marketing strategy helps with that direction of, allowing a cold audience to see you and just be won over to you as well. Another role that you need to sort out that will cause challenges is your accounting role. Your accounting role is so important. I always advocate you to hire an accountant, even if it's not an accountant that resumes with you every day. If you can outsource it and have someone come once a week, by all means, let them come in and do all the paperwork, all the accounting work for you. Money is coming in, money is going out. Have you recorded them very well? Do you even know how profitable you are as a cake business? Can you budget? Can you project? Can you look at the environment and be like, oh, I want to forecast. In the next 1 month, this and this are the things I need to put together to be able to make this type of revenue and this type of profit for my cake business. We're also going to talk about well-being, challenges around health. Okay, let's face the facts. If you are a hands-on cake business owner, chances are you are standing on your feet for long hours in the day. Chances are also that you are probably not eating well. Okay, you know how we are when we get into the grind of work. We think about everybody apart from ourselves. So how do you manage this type of challenges? You want to make sure that you have a system and a flow that makes sure that you eat at the right time and you eat proper food. Guys, this is so important. If you need to add this cost to your cakes, do that. Make sure there is a system, there is a person that is responsible for making sure that you are eating properly and eating well. Okay? You also want to make sure that you only take in the kind of orders you can manage. Those early days, saying no was a big problem. So I would have reached max capacity, And how people will call and I will still say yes. So I will literally didn't have a life outside the bakery. Getting home late, sleeping for, short hours. You wake up very early again to make sure that the cake is delivered. It was just almost like a complete mess, But thankfully, as I grew and I began to understand this, I began to embrace support. If you are a cake business owner and you have a young family, by all means, you need someone to help you with the children. Okay? Make sure it is someone that you trust, because you can't just have people around you that you do not trust. While we are taking care of people's businesses, we want to make sure that our business is well taken care of. So as a person, I don't compromise on that. When it comes to support that will make me sane and make me do my work as best as possible, okay, I always make sure that I invest in those type of relationships. I'm grateful for my family. My family plays a very big role in, my personal life. But on the work front, I've hired people into my environment to just make sure that I have enough time to do things like this, sharing my experiences with you and, going for speaking engagements, teaching other cake business owners. When you have a system and a flow like that, it helps you to be sane. Right. Okay. So one of the things I had to adopt, every other year I go for a checkup. Or when you are not feeling well, your body begins to give you signs. Don't wait until you break down before you go and see a doctor or before you rest. You should also have a community of cake sisters or friends, okay? Even if it's not cake sisters, but having cake sister friends, colleagues in the environment, they are going through the same things you're going through. And so when you sit down with them and you're both across the table and they share the problems you had with you, you feel normal. You know that you're not the only one going through this kind of tough challenge. But more than anything else, you can laugh about it and you can also ask them how they've been able to solve the problem and probably adapt and use that to solve the nagging problems that you have. You want to embrace a healthy lifestyle of thinking with gratitude. That's one of my biggest points. I'm very pro gratitude. Even when things don't go the way that I want them to go, I have the perspective of, what if this thing happened to grow me or to reveal something that I need to know or to change something. So I always see setbacks as almost like an invitation to elevation. And that's the truth. And once I was able to look at setbacks like that, there's a lot of gratitude that comes with even my challenge or the challenges that I go through personally and as a cake business owner. And at the end of the day, we turn those lemons into lemonade and, everyone is jolly. And most importantly, I take from the learnings, of that specific challenge. After overcoming, I can now share with other people and they too don't have to go through the stress that I went through. And this is what it is all about. Perspective, to be honest with you. That's what I do. I've gained so much knowledge in my journey of running a cake business that, when they say someone is very full of wisdom, of adventure, that I'm so ready to pour it out to people so that they don't make the kind of mistakes I made, number one, or they can make better decisions than I made in the early days. Okay? I just want you to know that a cake business is very lucrative. It's very fulfilling. A lot of us do this cake business because we're passionate about it. But if we're constantly allowing setbacks, challenges, demotivation to get the best of us, it will really, really get us to a place where we are so discouraged and we want to call it quits. I want you to know that good things take time. Okay, there is a story behind every glory. Everyone you see and admire, if they open up their mouths and tell you the challenges they went through in the past or the challenges they are currently going through, you will not believe it. The grass is always greener where it is watered. So learn how to turn your challenges into triumphs. And now we've come to the end of today's discussion. I really hope you learned a thing or two. I would love to hear, from you. Share with me some of the challenges you had and how you were able to overcome them. Till our next discussion, it's happy caking.